Hey everybody, Mike Hills with Triton Insurance Group in Tampa, Florida. This is part of a series of videos to educate you, not just for standard home ownership, but also to prepare for a hurricane or any kind of event that could happen that could affect your home. The Florida market is very volatile with what is the amount of claims, not just hurricane impact, and what's happened in Florida this year. It's still a little bit too early to determine what's going to happen with insurance premiums. But the one variable that is impacting Florida homeowners insurance right now is water damage claims. Water damage claims are an epidemic proportion. We've had a 46% increase in insurance claims in the last 4 years strictly for water damage. I'm not talking about floods outside from the rain or storm surge. I'm talking about leaky toilets, ice maker line, a pipe breaking on the inside of a house. And what this equates to is carriers are looking to have up to a 16% increase strictly because of the water damage claims that have been rolling in. With me, I have Ryan Pelkey with Tampa Bay Plumbers. Someone I've known for years, worked with for years, seen his business grow from a small organization with 6 or 7 employees to a multi-million-dollar enterprise that services the entire Metro Tampa area and actually across the state. And Ryan, tell us about Tampa Bay Plumbers.
Thanks a lot, Mike. Yeah, been at this for a long time, 17 years in business. We have thousands and thousands of customers. And I'm very happy that Mike invited us here to talk about these types of losses. We have become very experienced dealing with them over the years. We see them all the time, and a lot of times they're avoidable. Sometimes they're not. So hopefully today we can touch on some of the things that people can do to reduce the likelihood of having these types of water-related claims.
The water claims are horrible. Second-story toilet overflowing, the ceiling collapsing on the first floor,
hardwood on the bottom,
wiping out the hardwood on the bottom,
yeah.
On top of the TV. That is a huge, and the bad thing is almost all this stuff could be prevented.
A lot of times it can be, and the thing of it is it's not just the damage, it's the impact on the families that we see, because a lot of times in those events, like you just explained, you have to move out of your house, you got pets, kids, and it can take months to resolve these losses sometimes. So,
and your home insurance has what they call loss of use coverage to allow you to go live someplace else, maintain your lifestyle as best as possible, order food, housing, accommodations, the whole 9 yards.
Isn't that a reimbursement a lot of times?
Sometimes it's a reimbursement. Some companies actually give you a credit card and say, here you go.
So that's nice. Now, I've seen it to where they have to come out of pocket for these expenses. And a lot of people, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, that's a major problem. So, to avoid that, I would say the number one thing that you would do is just make sure that your water piping system, your water supply is up to date. Okay, a lot of us have heard about copper leaks, copper water systems that are old, 30, 40 years old. Have a repipe done to your house. If you're basically living on the edge. It's kind of like having a heart that's about to go into a heart attack. That's the best analogy I can give you. If you have a polybutylene system, I don't even believe insurers are covering those types of systems anymore, are they? If you
automatic cancellation of your homeowner's policy if you have polybutylene pipes. You've got to replace them.
So number one, make sure your water distribution system is up to speed. Yeah. Number two, you touched on it earlier. A lot of the breaks are actually on the little supply lines from the toilet up to the valve, okay, or from the ice maker valve to the ice maker itself. Those lines are 1/8 of an inch to 3/8 of an inch. They're not hard to replace. Most of the time they're visible and easily accessible.
And how long does a line like that last for? Like an ice maker line or
it depends.
washing machine hose?
Some of them are braided steel and they're no burst lifetime warranty. Those are the expensive ones. Some of them are cheap poly, or some of them are copper and they get pinched. So in the case of like an ice maker that's behind the refrigerator, you have to pull that refrigerator out in order to access that. So imagine if you had a copper line there, and when you pull it out and you push it back in, that line can get crimped. So you have to inspect your plumbing system. You know, I think a lot of people need to just understand that plumbing is something that you can easily forget about. You know, your day-to-day life, you go on and you go about your day. The last thing you're going to think about is my water distribution system good?
Yeah.
Well, you should. You should have a plumber come out and check it every year. If you're not able to do it yourself, have an inspection done on your entire plumbing system. It's going to be a minimal cost to you.
So I mean, you do have an inspection where you would come out and do an inspection of somebody's house and review all the components, all the lines and all that. What is that, $100 or $200 or what is that?
If we're just going to visually inspect the plumbing system, it's $125 for a like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath type home. Obviously, if we come out to a 30,000 square foot mansion, we're going to have to charge more because they've got 15 bathrooms.
Right.
But you know that 90% of the time, $125 covers a visual inspection. If we're going to need to do a camera inspection on top of that to actually inspect the drainage system, that's more involved. That's where we actually run a camera down the pipes. It's almost like a step, you know, you're scoping out your knee. We can do that for plumbing systems.
Interesting.
So we'll come in and we'll pull a toilet, or we'll go through a clean out on the outside of the house, and we'll record the inside of the drainage system. In fact, if you go to tampaplumber.net, you can see many examples of these video inspections being performed in real application, real situations.
Interesting.
Not every house is going to need that. Like you have a new home, your house is you're going to have all PVC drainage underneath. The likelihood of you having a severe drainage issue that could cause flooding is pretty rare.
But where we do have, and I noticed before the storm, because we did have some rain, some drainage outside. So going from the inside of the house to the outside of the house now,
that's
with the drainage. So I went out there and stirred up my gutters in the rain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I watched it all piling up and building up on the side of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Home Depot or Lowe's and I bought the 6-foot corrugated hoses, the black big thick ones.
Yep.
Duct tape it to all the gutters on the house and dragged it out 30 feet off the house.
Get it away from the house.
Get it all away from the house.
And that's very smart. And, you know, the permanent solution there is to put some underground drains in and evacuate that water away from the house to either a lower spot on the property, or you run that drainage into a pit, like a big pump station, and you pump that water out to a different location on the property.
That could it go into the sewer? Or it can't go into the sewer. It can just get it away from your property is what it pretty much
get it
is.
off your property. You can put it to a lower part of the property. Like for instance, at my house, I had to do the same thing. I have a drainage feature that I installed near the easement in the front of my house. It's a much lower elevation. I pump the water to that spot. It overflows out of a structure and goes out into the storm drainage system. But you definitely can't put it into the sanitary sewer.
Gotcha.
Although some people do, it's certainly not a good thing to do.
In the insurance world, we get phone calls with water claims, and people call, and they go, "I got a water claim. I got water damage. The toilet's overflowing." And I go, "Well, how long's this been going on?"
Yeah.
And they'll say a couple days. Right?
Bad answer.
Here's the thing. Do you know how to turn off the water for your house? How many homeowners you think really, if they had water squirted in a fountain in their house, they
don't.
would be able? Most people do not know how to go find the valve outside.
And I'll tell you what, in a high stress situation, your brain tends to work a little less efficiently.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you don't know where it is, you're not going to find it when the water is blowing everywhere.
True.
So my recommendation is, like I said before, have a plumbing inspection done by a professional company. During that inspection, ask the plumber to show you where the shutoff valves are. Make sure they operate. If they don't operate correctly, replace them. That's a very simple thing. We'll go into some more things later, but when you leave your home for a long period of time and you know you're not coming back, you're going on a 2-week vacation, shut the water off to your house.
So if you evacuated for a hurricane,
Shut
the water off.
I shut my water off.
Got it.
Positively, because
Any negative, anything bad about shutting the water off, or is nothing bad?
no, nothing's bad.
Everything's going to reseat.
Yeah, everything should be fine. I mean, as long as your system is operating properly, you should be able to shut the water on and off as many times as you want.
When the hurricane came through, one of the paranoia things that I had, because I've been a boat owner, is having your toilet plug up, which has nothing. The boat has nothing to do with the house. It's two totally different types of toilets. Right. But I kind of made an announcement. I said, please, everybody, be careful what you put in the toilet, because I do not want any sewage backing up.
Yes.
If we're not going to have AC for 4 or 5 days. Let's
not make the problem worse.
Let's not make the problem worse. So everybody was really paranoid about it. But as far as like using a toilet, your power's out. Your toilet is not reliant on power.
Unless you have a septic system that has an elevated mounded drain field. Okay.
So who would know if you're on a septic system? I don't know. Everybody would. Yeah.
Actually, most people know if you're on septic, you know if you have a mound in your yard. Okay. A lot of people have those, and they are very noticeable. Some people actually import enough dirt to kind of blend it into the rest of the yard. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure you've drove past properties and you see this.
See the burial ground, the burial ground in the front of the house or the back of the house.
That's actually not an ancient burial ground. That's actually a drain field. So what happens is all the wastewater goes to a primary septic tank. It flows out of that into a dosing tank, and in that dosing tank's a pump. If power isn't to that pump,
wow.
You know what happens.
Yeah.
So that goes back to the stormwater evacuation system and making sure that you have power to your critical things in your home, critical infrastructure to your home, in the event you lose power.
A generator.
Generator with the transfer switch.
Yeah.
Those are fairly easy to install. An electrician can put them in. And it will save you a lot of heartache if you actually have critical systems that require power for your plumbing.
Got it. Another thing that we have happen quite a bit too is somebody will call and they say, hey, my water bill's been through the roof. Mm-hmm. I go, well, how long's that been going on? And they'll go 3 or 4 or 5 months, right?
Yeah.
So
that's something
so
that
the water's going somewhere.
Yeah.
You know?
And a lot of times it's something silly. A lot of times we actually see it in the water conditioning equipment, where it'll get stuck in regen mode.
Huh.
I've seen that many times. So the water's actually not flooding your home. You don't see there's no water show, but your water bill is $300.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't get the credit for the water. I can get the credit for the sewer back from the water company by writing a letter on your behalf. But they will charge you for the water because you used the water.
And maybe you just got to be careful your neighbor's not filling his pool. But we did have that come up a couple times too.
I've never heard of that one, but that's pretty good.
Yeah. So what about a wireless shutoff valve, where if the water is like an automatic valve?
Yep. I have seen those, and we can certainly install them. My one requirement would be that it would be an approved plumbing fitting, an approved plumbing product by the governing bodies, that regulate plumbing fittings. I think it's ASTM. I'm not sure exactly.
Gotcha.
But you got to have something that's a legitimate component. It can't, otherwise a licensed professional could
it's like
install.
What good is it? So, and what about wireless leak detection systems, which I was looking at one the other night. I said it was called Wally, and I'm not trying to promote. I have no idea what it was, but a link just took me and was like, you put these little sensors around by your AC and underneath all your sinks and throughout the house, and then you actually get text alerts that can be sent to you.
Senses moisture.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean those can all be very helpful. I think that it just depends on the level of comfort that you want. I mean, personally, I don't feel the need to go there. I think it's more important to spend the money on your plumbing system. Yep. Make sure that you have your good supply lines in place. Make sure your drain field is being maintained. Make sure your septic tank is being pumped out. Make sure your gutters are being cleaned. Make sure your stormwater evacuation system is clean and in good shape. All of these things to me are a lot more important than discovering the problem, because you probably won't have a problem if you actually take care of your system.
You need to do whatever you got to do to prevent water damage. Water damage is one of the worst things that can happen to your house. It is horrible. It's mold, it stinks, it's bad. And one other thing here with the insurance thing, your policies get changed. If your house is an older house, you only have $10,000 of limited water damage.
Yeah, I just saw that.
On an older house. Let's say you have a $2,500 deductible, your floors are wiped out, your ceiling's wiped out. You're going to get a check for $7,500.
And it's not going to cover anything.
So that way you need to mitigate the risk.
Absolutely.
By having Tampa Bay plumbers come out, spend the $200, have the inspection, do whatever you got to do to prevent that from happening. The other thing that's going on also is policy language keeps changing on the insurance front here, where if a water leak, we've had people call and they say it's been leaking for months. We literally have people call and say, hey, the back of my toilet's been wet ever since we bought the house.
Denied.
2 years ago.
Sudden and unexpected, right?
And they will, exactly. It's got the insurance is going to cover. If pipe blows, covered.
As they should.
As they should.
I disagree. I don't. People act like the insurance companies are out to get them. I'm thinking, really? You could have prevented so much damage had you just picked up the phone when you noticed an issue.
So they have a 14-day clause. If you've been leaking more than 14 days water damage, they may or may not cover you. So you need to be proactive. You need to be on top of that. And you go, well, how would they know that? Trust me, insurance adjusters, when they come out, they can tell by looking at lines, just like you guys can tell. You can look and say that's been leaking for 2 years or it's been leaking for 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
You can figure that out. But the other thing that I thought was kind of interesting on your website, I saw you guys do water testing as well. Do you do a lot of that, or do you find any?
Most of the water testing we do is actually on the components of the well, the bladder tank, the pressure switches, things like that. But if a customer does request a bacteria test on the water, we can certainly do that. What we do is we take a sterilized water bottle out to a house. We pick these up from the health department. And then we go pull a sample. We have to have latex gloves on and all that. Take it back to the health department, and they actually put it in their lab.
Oh, they do it.
They do it.
Ah,
yeah. It's
okay.
not. It's definitely that way. Our consumers know. It's on them. We're just facilitating it for them. In fact, you can do it for free yourself. Just by going to the health department. It's $25 per water sample bottle, and you take that to your house. You have to be careful not to contaminate the water sample. That's the biggest issue.
Yeah.
People have dirty hands. You wash your hands, put latex gloves on. Don't breathe on your water sample.
Wow.
Pull your water sample, put the lid on, take it right to the water department. Excuse me, right to the health department.
When I first moved down here from Buffalo, they said a boil water notice came out.
Yeah.
And it says, don't drink the water, you got to boil it first. I'm like, for real?
Yes.
And then they go, 3 days later, it's like, okay, you can drink the water now. And I'm like, how do they know that everybody's faucet and everybody's tap?
I like having a well.
Yeah.
I live on a well. I think you're on city water where you're at, right?
A well now.
You are a well?
Yeah.
So now it's in your hands. Yeah. You have to make sure that your water system.
Reverse osmosis is perfect. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
I've got a chlorination, dechlorination system.
Yeah.
So I oxidize the water with the chlorine. I take the water out with the carbon, and then I run it through a softener and a tannin filter, and then it goes over to my RO. So I'll put my water up against anyone's, basically.
That's awesome.
I feel more secure about that because I don't trust the water department a lot of times. You got to be really cautious.
There's no way they can control it all.
They can, and so put an RO system in your house.
Yeah.
That's going to filter out everything, even salt it'll take out. So RO systems are fantastic.
Avoid water claims. Ryan, love you, brother.
Love you too, man.
Tampa Bay Plumbers. Stay safe, everybody.